Hello, welcome to Jen Joy Crafts. In this video, I am making winter gnomes. You will need a pair of socks, you will need a microfiber mop head, and you will need a 2-pack of these plastic reusable cups. These items I purchased at the Dollar Tree. You'll also need 2 wooden beads that can be picked up at any of your crafting stores, and you can get whatever size you want. These are going to be used for the nose. The duster mop pad that you see we will not be using. This was going to be for the beard, but I had to go a different direction because when I cut the duster mop pad up, it made a horrible mess. So we'll be doing something different for the beard. The first thing that I'm going to do is to make the body of the gnome. Here are the 2 plastic cups. They come with 2 lids, but you will not need the lids for this project. I'm going to go ahead and cut the sock in half. The toe part of the sock is going to be the bottom of the gnome body. I'm using my fabric scissors to cut my sock. I love these scissors, they cut so well, and I even wrote on them fabric only so that no one will take my scissors and use them for paper or anything else. So the bottom of the gnome is actually going to be the wider part of the cup. So I'm going to end up turning the cup upside down, and then I'm going to put the sock on and just pull it up, and we're going to end up hot gluing it. And so here you just see me kind of figuring out how exactly I want to do it. I'm hot gluing the sock to the cup, and I'm really just using a little bit of hot glue to go around it. The sock stays up pretty well on its own. Make sure you do have the sock pulled up pretty tightly. That way the bottom of the body is flat with the fabric. And be really careful with the hot glue because it easily comes through the sock, and of course, being hot glue, it is very, very hot. Now we're going to work on the hat. We're going to take the other part of the sock and we're going to put it on top of the cup, and be sure that you put the sock on with the nicer side going on it first and the cut part on top. So now I need to close up the hole that is on top of the hat, and I'm just going to take the fabric and kind of bring it back and just fold in the fabric and hot glue it until I can get the hole closed up, and any shape that the hat turns out in will be cute because this is a little gnome. I'm making a boy gnome and a girl gnome, and for the girl gnome I'm going to be using this mop head, and I want to make the girl some braids for her hair, and I cut 3 strands of the mop head, all the same length, and I cut them a little longer than the gnome's body was just because I am going to be braiding it, which will shorten it, and then I can always cut to the length I want. It's better to make it too long than too short. I'm using a rubber band to attach the 3 braids together at the very top so they stay together, and then I'm going to be hot gluing them under the gnome's cap. Now I'm lifting up part of the cap to put the 3 strands under there so it'll be easy to braid. I'm also going to use a little hot glue so they will stay in place. Here I am braiding the 3 strands. I'm not the best at braiding, but I tried my best here, and then I put another rubber band at the very end. If you cut the strands a little too long, just cut off what you don't want and make them the length that you want. And then you'll repeat and do the braid on the other side, and you'll just position them the way that you want them to look on the front of the gnome. And just remember, you are going to be putting that bead in the middle for her nose. Now I'm going to work on the second gnome, and this one is going to be a boy one. So I'm going to make a beard for him. And so what I did is I cut a piece of cardstock into a triangle, and I just made sure that that was the size that I wanted it to be. And so I just tried it out. And then I'm going to use some Mod Podge and a paintbrush to paint a good layer of the Mod Podge on the triangle. After I have my Mod Podge down, I'm going to take some cotton balls and I'm just going to pull them apart. I did use scissors on some of them just to make it a little easier to pull the cotton apart. And then I am just going to stick my pieces on top of the Mod Podge on the triangle. So I decided I wanted to put a little more cotton on the beard. And so you can take the Mod Podge and just pat it on top of the cotton that's already on there, and then put more cotton on top of that. And Mod Podge is a type of glue. The one I'm using is the matte finish, which really doesn't matter for this project. And the little bottle that I'm using in the video, you can actually sometimes find at the Dollar Tree. If not, you can get them at your local craft store, and even Walmart has it in their craft section. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the amount of cotton that is on it. So now I'm just going to set this aside and let it thoroughly dry, and then I will be attaching it to the gnome. Now that the beard is completely dried, I'm going to attach it to the gnome. And make sure that you are putting it on the front of your gnome. And I'm just going to lift up his hat just a little bit. And I'm going to place the beard where I want it and hot glue it in place. When I hot glued it, I'd only put a little drop right in the middle of the beard. Now I'm going back and putting another little drop of hot glue at the end of each side of the beard. And there's the beard. You cannot even tell that I used cardstock for this beard, and I'm just loving how the beard turned out. Now it's time to finish up the gnomes. On the girl gnome with the braids, at the end of the braid, I did end up adding a bow that matched the sock just because I thought it needed a little something more. I used a little bit of hot glue and I attached the bow part of the braid to the body of the gnome. I also painted the wooden beads for the nose. I painted them white. Since this was a bead, it did have the 2 holes in it, and I wanted the bead to have a cleaner look. So what I did is I put a little bit of hot glue in each of the holes, being sure not to overflow the hole with the glue. And after the glue was completely dry, I painted over the hole with white paint. You can still see the hole, of course, but it makes it a much cleaner look than if I had not done that. I added the nose to the gnome with hot glue, and I made sure when I put the bead on that one of the holes was towards the top and the other one was towards the bottom. And I lifted up the cap just a little bit as much as I could because it was hot glued, just to kind of cover that hole or put that bead under the cap as much as possible. And then the other hole was facing towards the bottom on the bead, and you couldn't really see the holes when I put them on. And then I went ahead and put the nose on the other gnome. I had some leftover snowflake ornaments from a different project I was working on, so I did decide to go ahead and use them on this project to use them up. And I'm going to be attaching the snowflake to the hat to add a little embellishment. You don't have to do this, but I thought it really made a cute touch to the gnomes. And here the gnomes are all finished. I just love how they turned out. I think they're so adorable. And I love how you can make these gnomes to go with any season or holiday that you would like to. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment and click on the thumbs up button. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please take a moment to do so. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next video.